Red Bull built Max Verstappen into a four-time world champion, but now, for the first time ever, Max is thinking about walking away. A shocking situation is developing inside Formula One. The driver who once seemed impossible to separate from Red Bull is no longer fully confident about his future with the team. Max believes Red Bull is not the same powerhouse that dominated the sport just a few years ago. After dangerous rear wing failures at Silverstone and Austria caused major crashes, Max called the issue super dangerous, and now questions are being raised about whether Red Bull can still give him the championship-winning car he needs. But the biggest problem may not even be the car. The Red Bull empire that helped Max win 4 titles is slowly falling apart. Major figures behind the team's success have disappeared, including Adrian Newey, Christian Horner, Jonathan Wheatley, and Helmut Marko stepping away from his previous role. Even Max's trusted race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase could have an uncertain future. The team that once looked unbeatable is now facing a crisis, and the biggest question in Formula One is no longer can Max win with Red Bull. The question is, will Max Verstappen become the next superstar to leave Red Bull behind? To understand how big this moment really is, you have to go back to what Max Verstappen and Red Bull achieved together. Between 2021 and 2024, Verstappen claimed 4 straight Drivers' Championships. Along the way, he set records that may never be broken, including an astonishing 19 wins in a single season. He didn't just beat the rest of the grid for stretches of that run, he made the sport look one-sided. That success wasn't an accident. It came from a partnership that clicked on every level. Designer Adrian Newey built cars that matched Verstappen's aggressive driving style. Team boss Christian Horner ran the operation with a no-nonsense style that suited him. Race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase understood his moods, his rhythm, and exactly how to talk him through a race weekend. And Helmut Marko, the man who spotted his talent as a teenager, had staked his own reputation on the bet that Verstappen would become something special. For 4 years, that combination made Red Bull the most dominant force Formula One had seen in a generation. Now that same driver is signaling he's ready to leave it all behind. Much of the recent coverage has focused on the new 2026 regulations, and it's true, Verstappen has been openly critical of them. He compared the new cars to something out of a video game and said the racing no longer feels like real Formula One. He's pointed out that drivers are now being forced to slow down mid-lap just to manage battery energy, calling the whole approach anti-racing. Here's the part that often gets left out, though Verstappen wasn't just complaining now that things have gotten harder. He was raising these same concerns back in 2023 during the middle of his most dominant season ever, when nobody could touch him on track. That timing matters. It shows this was never about losing. He genuinely believed the sport was moving in the wrong direction, and by 2026 most of what he warned about has played out almost exactly as he predicted. But regulations alone don't explain why a 4-time champion would walk away from the team of his career. The real answer showed up in something far more personal. After a difficult qualifying session in Japan, Verstappen was asked how he was feeling, and instead of the usual competitive answer, he admitted that every day he has to talk himself into wanting to be there. That's not a driver frustrated with a car. That's a driver who has lost something that a new floor or an engine upgrade can't bring back. Here's the part of the story that may matter most. The Red Bull that Verstappen is preparing to leave isn't really the same team he built his championships with. It's a completely different organization wearing the same name. Adrian Newey has already moved on to Aston Martin. Christian Horner departed under circumstances the team has never fully clarified. Sporting director Jonathan Wheatley is gone as well. Helmut Marko, the man who discovered Verstappen as a teenager and pushed hard for his promotion into the senior team, has stepped back from his day-to-day involvement. And Gianpiero Lambiase, the engineer who sat alongside Verstappen for every single one of his wins, is reportedly already committed to a future move to McLaren. On top of that, chief engineer Paul Monahan, one of the last remaining links to the championship years, is said to be heading toward Cadillac. This isn't just a normal wave of staff turnover. This is the near-total dismantling of the group that made Red Bull the benchmark team in the sport. And Lambiase's exit carries extra weight because Verstappen once said openly, back in 2021, that he couldn't imagine continuing in Formula One without him as his engineer. Now Lambiase is leaving for the very team most often linked with Verstappen's own next move. When Verstappen was recently asked whether the team's turmoil was shaping his thinking about the future, his response was telling. He simply said he wasn't going to comment on that right now. That's not the sound of a man denying anything. If there was a single weekend that turned speculation into near certainty, it was the British Grand Prix. Verstappen was running third with just a handful of laps remaining, in position for back-to-back podiums, when a rear wing failure sent him spinning off at high speed. It was the same mechanical issue that had already wrecked his qualifying session in Austria the week before. Two serious incidents in 8 days, both traced to the same part of the car. Verstappen didn't hold back, calling it genuinely dangerous and explaining that once that wing fails to close, the car simply loses its downforce with no way to recover. Then there's the title picture itself. George Russell now holds a commanding lead in the championship, and with only a limited number of points left before the summer break, the math simply doesn't work in Verstappen's favor anymore. Realistically, there is no path back into title contention this season, and under the terms of his contract, an exit window has now opened, giving him a defined stretch of time to formally notify Red Bull if he intends to leave at the end of the year. Behind the scenes, sources suggest Verstappen's camp has already made contact with McLaren, with talk of a potential driver swap involving Oscar Piastri moving the other way. Verstappen's manager has downplayed any formal negotiations, and Verstappen himself has avoided directly addressing the rumors. But when McLaren's CEO was asked point-blank whether he'd pursue Verstappen if given the chance, his answer was playful and notably not a no. Even Lando Norris, when asked if he could beat Verstappen as a teammate, said he believed he could beat anyone, while also admitting it would be a remarkable thing to have a four-time champion join the team. None of that sounds like a closed door. Add it all up: the dangerous mechanical failures, the mathematically closed title fight, the exodus of nearly everyone who built that championship-winning machine, and one thing becomes clear. This was never really about the car. It's about a relationship that quietly ended long before any of this became public. Verstappen himself said months ago that he could walk away from the sport tomorrow and mean it. Everything happening now is simply the rest of the world catching up to a decision he'd already made. So what do you think happens next? Does Max Verstappen land at McLaren, step away from Formula One altogether, or surprise everyone and stay? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more Formula One coverage.